So this is my PiFinder, my new PiFinder. Now I bought this before the trip to Namibia last year, and I've been using it as and when the weather allows for the last few months. Now my wife told me I don't need any help finding pies, but I found this to be really useful. It's an electronic finder scope, and traditionally you would look through an optical finder scope, you'd line up the crosshairs or line up the red dot and use that to find your targets. But what the PiFinder is doing is actually using its built-in camera, it's plate solving the night sky in real time. So you type in the object you want to look at, and it then gives you the up, down, left, right instructions to send to your target. Now I'm going to do this video in two parts. The first part I'll give you my thoughts having used the PiFinder for the last few months. And then in the second half of the video, I'll show you it in use. And I'll show you how I use it in Namibia to explore the night sky. So what I do on my telescope, the one in the observatory, is I do the set up the time, set up the date, and then do a 3-star alignment. I point to 3 different stars in different parts of the sky. So the telescope knows where it is, what time it is, what date it is, and where it's pointing. Now, what that doesn't take into account is any errors in the system, any misalignments, or if I've knocked into the telescope. And over time, of course, those errors will build up and it makes finding objects really hard. I've now got to use the finder scope, recenter it. And of course, if you've got a manual telescope, you don't have any motors, of course, you're into star hopping, or you can get yourself one of these. So this is a camera with a built-in Raspberry Pi computer. And what it's doing, it's plate solving in real time, several times a second. So the camera, the computer, always knows where it's pointing in the sky. It's mounted on a finder sheet, you mount it on top of your telescope, and then wherever the camera is pointing, it tells you where you're looking. And what I would do is then line up on a bright star, get that centered into the eyepiece. You look at the screen, you tell the Raspberry Pi which of those stars you're actually looking at, the brightest one in the field of view, and it then knows you're bore sighted. You've now aligned your PiFinder with the main telescope. And you then basically say, I want to go and look at this object, and it will give you the up, down, left, right corrections you need to go and find that object. So it's like having a sat nav in the sky. It's going to give you those directions. You can find any object. It's got a full catalogue, NGC, IC, whatever you need. It's got that in there. Planets, comets, all in there. So I did pay for this myself. I didn't get this for free, so this is paid for my own money. And I must say it has absolutely changed how I do my observing. So particularly with the UK weather, where we're limited to quick gaps in between rainstorms, and when I'm tired from work, this has actually made finding objects so much easier. I'm not hunting around, trying to correct any errors in the mount. You literally can get bang, centered in the field of view. Best of all, it's got the Wi-Fi module built in. I can then link that to my iPad. I can then run Sky Safari and it shows me exactly where I'm pointing. I've got the field of view set. So when I was in Namibia, I was in an unfamiliar part of the sky. Constellations weren't so fresh to me. I could be looking at the Large Magellanic Cloud and literally the field of view is full of deep sky objects. It's such a rich part of the sky. And with that movie map display, I could know exactly what I was looking at, what was entering the field of view, what was leaving the field of view, what was centered in the field of view. It was a ground truth. So this comes in different configurations. I've got the straight through configuration, so it's looking in a straight line from the screen to the camera. Of course, if you're using a Dobsonian, if you're using a Newtonian reflector where you're looking at the focuser but the camera's looking off to the side, you can get a left or right depending on which way your focuser is looking. I went through the straight view version. So what I really like about this is there's no encoders, there's no wires. I can move this from telescope to telescope. So if I'm using my little portable refractor, or if I'm using the C11 in the observatory, there it is. I can move it from one to the other. I'm not dependent on wiring up encoders, wiring up the mount. I can move it from one to the other. And most importantly of all, of course, it is totally accurate. It's got the ground truth. It literally is looking at the sky. You haven't got any of those errors that naturally build up with time. So I did worry that the screen would be a bit too bright. I've got it set up at the moment so you can see it on the camera. But of course, when you're in the dark, when you've got your night vision set, this would be really bright. This is set up for daytime viewing. But you can dim the screen down. And then it gets to the point where you can't actually see it in the daylight. It's that dim. And if you leave it for a while, leave it unattended, if it's not got any movement or any vibrations, it'll actually go into a sort of power saving mode. So it's still active, but it's turned the screen and turned all the light off. So it's not really a problem. So I have seen people who have printed a cover that goes over the top. So when it's not being used, when you're observing, if you're sketching, you can put the cover on, totally sealed off, the stray light, and then when you're ready to use it again, just take the cover off. I did worry about balance as well. It's quite a, well, it's not a heavy device, but it does have some weight to it as well, with the 3D printed body with the electronics inside, but it's not as heavy as I thought it was going to be. It's certainly not, you can get finders that are heavier than this. What I did is I then 3D printed a plastic handle that goes on the refractor. I can then mount that on the center of mass, so it's not down at the end, it's not down at one end. I've got it now mounted towards the center of the telescope. So just be aware of that. It's not too heavy, but it does have some weight which you'll need to take into account of when you're doing your balancing. And this does have built-in catalogues. It's got all the NGC objects, all the Messier objects, Caldwell's, planets, comets. There's more things in here that you can think of. One of the things they've just done in their new update, they've put the entire Washington double star catalogue in. That's 150,000 double stars. So there's more objects in here than I could ever possibly observe in a lifetime. And when I look at the weather at the moment, it's been absolutely awful. Rain after rain after rain. There's no way I'm going to be able to observe all the objects that are in the catalogue. So the time we're going to press, this is retailing at $540 US. So not particularly cheap, but far cheaper than, say, a top of the range eyepiece, top of the range camera. And for something that you can use on any telescope, this will stay with you. I don't think it's badly priced. It's certainly value for money. Whether you think that's cheap or expensive, that's up to you. But in terms of value for money, in terms of how you can use it, I do think that is quite well priced. The user interface, the user display is kind of traditional. It's a bit like going back to the early 2000s before smartphones, the old-fashioned keypads. So it's taken me a while to get used to that again. It works, it's perfectly fine. It's probably my brain rather than the user interface, the user experience. So you just got to be aware of that. It's a bit like going back to old 1990s or 2000s old phone, pressing the buttons multiple times to enter objects. But it does work. It just takes my brain a little while to get used to. And I must admit, I do find the on and off switch to be a bit of a faff too. It's very small and it does take some practice to find it and to turn it from on to off. And that's before you factored in being tired in the early hours of the morning, in the dark, when you've got cold hands. It really could do with a big clunky rocker switch. So the other thing you'll need to consider is whether or not to include a battery. Now, I did go for a battery simply because it's one less thing to pack, but I do have to remember to charge it. There have been a few times where I've come out and forgotten to charge it. But if you already have your own power supply, you can use the USB-C input port to provide power. So you can choose whether to save a bit of money, save a bit of weight, and use your own power supply, or have a battery fitted inside. And the good thing is, if you do have the battery fitted inside and you do forget to charge it like I do, you can run it off a second power supply as well. Now, there are several alternative approaches worth searching up. Now, some of my Astro Society, they use the Cedar Finder, which is very similar, uses the same software, runs on a Raspberry Pi, but you have to provide both the camera and link it to your tablet or phone to act as the screen. And what I liked about the PiFinder was that it was a one-stop shop. I'm not having to configure anything, just get your credit card out and it appears in the post. Alternatively, you can buy a Celestron Star Sense, mount it on your telescope, and you'd have seen that in the nebulae videos when I borrowed a Celestron CPC 1100 that already had the Celestron Star Sense mounted on top of it. But that only works, and I believe this is the case, on Celestron and Skywatcher mounts, and certainly doesn't work on a manual mount like the one I have in my travel setup. And the third approach is to use SharpCap and the plate solving built into SharpCap. Now, I do use that for my live stacking, but that does mean, one, you need a laptop and therefore power. And while that will give you the coordinates, it's important to note that won't give you the up, down, left, right arrows to center a target. So in summary, I went for the PiFinder simply because it was a finished product that I can use on any mount in the observatory, or I can use it on my manual mount if I'm traveling at a star party. And getting right down to the pernickety, I do find the dust cap very fiddly, and I've lost it once or twice and luckily managed to find it again when I've dropped it. So I do need to think of some clever sort of 3D printed, much more robust 3D printed version, so that will stay on and I'm not losing it in the dark. So in conclusion then, not the cheapest bit of kit, but it's so useful, so versatile. It really makes finding objects, particularly finding faint objects or in unfamiliar parts of the sky, really easy. You've got a ground truth, you've got a sat-nav display, up, down, left, right. You can link that then to Sky Safari and get those real-time moving map displays. So I really enjoy using it. Just be aware then, you've got to just balance that on the telescope, but you can then move that from telescope to telescope. So I really like it. It's going to be part of my observing kit moving forward. I can mount it on my Celestron C11. I can mount it on my Travel Megrate 90. And for example, when I'm visiting star parties, going to the winter star party, for example, next month in February, I'm certainly going to be taking this. So this is my PiFinder. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you in this video how I use it to find objects in the night sky. So the first thing I'm going to do is just check we are bore sighted. So let's go and find, I can get the hand controller off, put the tracking on, and let's go to Canopus. So I'm just using the hand controller. So I'm just lining up on the star. There we go. Right. Oh, I need to turn you on. So I've got the star Canopus in the field of view of the binocular. What I need to do then is just check. What do I need to do then? I need to go to the start menu. And I always forget to do this. You've got to take the dust cap off so that the camera can see the stars. I'll put this in my pocket. And I'm going to tell it to align. And having done that, it says that the alignment's successful. We've now aligned, we've bore sighted the telescope, the optical axis of the telescope with the camera on there. So I like to use Sky Safari when I'm observing. So I join the PiFinder Wi-Fi, go scope, connect. It's then lined up on Canopus, so the PiFinder knows where it's pointing, and now my iPad, now my star chart knows where it's pointing. And I can literally then use this to go so now the cool thing is I can go to catalogue, or sorry, objects, by catalogue, say NGC 2070, which is the Tarantula Nebula, and then it gives me the up-down arrows. That's probably close enough having done that. And in the binder viewer, I now have NGC 2070. So I now have the Tarantula Nebula in the field of view. So I really hope you enjoyed seeing the PiFinder in action, both in my own observatory here in the UK, in Namibia, when we're in southern Africa, exploring some of the darkest skies I've ever seen, and then observing in the winter star party and those beautiful tropical skies. Do check out the PiFinder, do check out their websites. It really does what it says on the tin. You dial it in, get yourself bore sighted, get yourself aligned, and then you can then go and find as many objects as you can possibly think of, as many objects as you want to see. And what I really enjoy is being able to use that with Sky Safari, connect up to the Wi-Fi, and being able to have that sort of moving map display, that planetarium view of what I'm actually looking at in the eyepiece. So it really has changed the way I observe. It's become a real enhancement to my observing setup. As always, my thanks once again to the patrons. Thanks for your continued support, and I look forward to bringing you more videos under the night sky.